Hello everyone. I want to update the market this week, right before the FOMC on Wednesday, and we're gonna start. I'll try to make it quick, and we're gonna start with BTC, of course. And so far, what I've been pointing out that this second impulse right after this expected rejection at the high time frame 95.5. This was a little bit premature in the sense of overheating, right? I mean, in the daily, the RSI was still good, right? I mean, it was below 70, still above the MA, but this initial impulse was really, really strong. And the confirmation for it to be a bit premature was this slight, and by a slight I mean it's not very long in time, right? It's just some days. Slight various divergence with this flat, the extended divergence here with the flat RSI and the stock RSI dropping as well, right? And here we have the fake above the resistance, high time frame resistance. This has surely trapped many breakout traders, right, who bought this breakout to get liquidated here, right? And perhaps we can see a front run of this area, right? We can tap it again like we did here, or just stay around 93, something like that, just a week, and again front run this area. But in any case, another retest of this huge demand area isn't crazy, especially right before the FOMC, even though considering the numbers we are seeing in the economic situation in the USA, it's very likely it's going to be a hold, right? No cut still, which is good. Stability is all we need now. And perhaps we see, as I mentioned in the last video, some kind of dovish Powell, which is good enough. I also said that perhaps by the way the stock RSI was resetting, this looked like it could extend into Wednesday for a full reset, and it's dropping really fast from Saturday, right? A couple of days it's reset a lot. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see some kind of start of a reversal here, like we are ready, we are back, and with RSI just curling back up and starting a new leg, right? I think this is nothing to worry about. It's still high because this wasn't, right? High, kind of high low, right? We said that this should hold back then as a low, and it did for quite some time. And this is the time to make a higher low and push higher. I said that I wanted to compare with the previous two breakouts, like in summer, like in October 24, September 24, and 23, right? If you go to the breakout in summer, right, this was the bottom with the bullish divergence forming here, the same way it did here, right? We have mentioned that several times already. So we take a look, we have this initial impulse around here, kind of similar levels as we have now. Then a little pullback at this resistance level. You could say it's somehow similar to this one, printing a higher low, right? RSI didn't go as far, while stock RSI completely reset. We had like a little fake out here, still not ready for a bigger move. I mean, this was like a 10 days from Saturday, 28th September to 11th, for like 2 weeks, chopping around. I mean, the situation is different now. I think the FOMC is what we need now for continuation. But the key here is the high low structure. That's all we need now. Trying to pinpoint the exact price is not necessary, but we have mentioned the key areas to avoid potential bigger drawdowns, right? I wouldn't like to see this complete rollover again down to 84. But even if that happens, I think something bad really should really happen in the economy, or some kind of crazy announcement with all these tariff negotiations. But even if that happens, if it holds, that would trap a lot of people, right? Make bears very confident again that this is a lower high compared to this structure, and then resume higher. So, I mean, it wouldn't be that bad. It could be really ugly for alts, right? But again, it's temporary, in my opinion. So higher highs, higher lows. We have several breaks below the MA. I mean, the daily is not that decisive until we reach overheated levels and start printing divergences, right? So far, so good. This is a slight, very slight divergence. Nothing to worry about, in my opinion. If we take a look at the October 23, which is something I've been comparing because of this vertical accumulation, in my opinion, this scenario was worse than the one we have now, in the sense that RSI got overheated quite quickly. And then we started printing various divergences while accumulating vertically. This is more difficult to trade, in my opinion, right? You don't know if this RSI correction is going to be reflected in sharp moves, or when these daily divergence is going to end. Because again, we have mentioned several times that if you try to exit here waiting for a lower low here, you might be just stay sidelined. That's why I would like to play higher time frame, which is the weekly, not only the daily. You could be trapped here, right? Then here we reached the same RSI level, but look at the price, right? It was 33 here. By the time the same daily RSI arrived, it was 62. However, back then on the weekly, we have a very different picture, right? In March, February, here we have the first peak, and this was a sideways price action. That's why I said we could also see this sideways price action in the daily, right? While oscillators reset like it did here, right? So it's not that easy. We need also some weekly or even daily moving averages, right? To look for some confluence. But the thing is, this correction is nothing extraordinary. It's all good. We have the break, the MA break, which is what we wanted. Even in 2024, we have this pullback, this weekly pullback from 65, 62, even below 58, right? Like a 10% move drop. But all that had happened in the RSI was just a retest of the MA. So for now, it's all good. For that to happen now, I think we would need to go to 90K, to the lower bound of this demand area, and perhaps we can see that. And this potential cross that doesn't happen eventually, and another push, the final push. Everything looks good in my opinion. If we go to total 3, we can see this is the daily chart. Again, complete cool off from Saturday until now. That's why I mentioned that even your alts are not moving or even going down a little bit together with BTC. They are resetting this first impulse, oscillators wise, right? Again, break below the MA, as we have said, normally brings acceleration, but we don't know the depth of the move. So far, it's been rejected by this initial push in November, right? And this bear market dead cat bounce in 2022, which has hosted resistance, support, resistance, and again resistance. The thing is, we are above the 2024 top, which I think is good for altcoins. Again, they lag, as we have seen in the weekly, right? BTC is already crossed, and total 3 is pretty much in line with the MA, not ready yet. Perfect rejection last week, and still behind this week. Again, altcoins always run later, right? But remember, if we see something like this above 80 or something like that, here it was 78 and here 80 now, which was crazy, with the stock RSI really overheated. That's the time we have to pay attention to, right? For a potential correction. So far it looks good, and altcoins won't really move, in my opinion, until we reclaim these resistance into support, potential initial push break, and then we pretty much fly to the top in December. Okay, so all looking good for now. Nothing crazy. If we check with the initial push in October, it initially broke, but price didn't do much actually, establishing this new low from May, while the oscillator was printing a higher low, and this was a fake out that ended up in the break of the MA with no hesitation and no looking back. We might be seeing something similar now. I believe we are around here, right? This initial push. Here we didn't have much resistance until here, but it was a break, a retest, and off we go. It could happen something similar here, right? We are in a new weekly cycle that started 14th of April, a couple of weeks. Yes, still no big move, but you know the big moves happen when breaking the DMA, and especially this last impulse above 70 RSI, which is when all things go crazy, right? If we take a look at our dear friend BTC dominance, this is the kind of a guidance arc that I drew some time ago, and it's funny that somehow it's like acting as a resistance. Obviously it isn't, because there is no level here. The thing is, this daily divergence is still working. Yes, we have only seen these small pullbacks, that's true, but it keeps building. It has lost the MA now, which is why it's accelerating a little bit. The thing is, how low will it go? And eventually it will have to give up, right? And as I said, many people could argue that this is just a perma-bullish perspective. It could keep going higher and higher. Well, the thing is, nobody, as I mentioned in a different post, nobody wanted to see, this is the weekly, but it's useful. The various divergence weekly building for BTC dominance, for BTC, right back here, since November to December, more than a month, as we are seeing now with BTC dominance. By the way, no one wanted to see this because the altcoins were running, and in their eyes everything was good because they didn't want to believe otherwise. The thing is, silently from April 6th to, for now, yes, pretty much tomorrow it will make a month, this various divergence has been building. So it's not crazy to think that, for example, here, which was a little bit more abrupt, it was from November 5th to November 20th, just 15 days, right? And it was very sharp. The thing is, how low will it go? Perhaps retest 0.7. That would bring a lot of relief for alts, even if it's just that little move. But if we break this support, that could be a sign for our real reversal. Again, it's still early and we have to see. But again, this divergence is still working. And in hindsight, it will look obvious, even though it doesn't now. We take a look at the SPX. I want to share something that it's very interesting in my opinion. I'm going to start with the monthly in this case, and this is the 50, right? It is something that I've been tracking for quite some time. I think I posted once here, even from 2011, right? 2011, we have these, the 50 acting pretty much like support for bear markets, right? This is the COVID crash, and this is the bear market bottom 2022. And I posted here when we had these bad looking chart in the monthly with these flat divergence that I posted that I didn't like what was happening. The weekly was rejecting the MA, right? We have the engulfing candle. On the weekly, we have the double rejection here at 6K. And I said that I didn't like that. That the last time, the other instances where it happened, the trend was really over. This double rejection here with this bearish divergence that has been building since early 2024. So when you see this, it doesn't look that crazy, the drop we have seen, right? Is it really the tariff, or was the market really telling us that it was time for a sizable correction? Okay, so then we saw the engulfing candle, and I just pointed out the times that we had an engulfing candle, there was continuation. And then I posted this very high time frame. This is the monthly, right, chart that I said, if this is a bear market type of correction, we could go down to the previous support at 4,800 more or less. It's a 22% move. And what do we have? It went down to 4,858, pretty much these support from the previous top, and pretty much a retest with a huge wick of this kind of bear market support. But we might argue that this is not a bear market in terms of time, but in terms of decrease, it is a bear market kind of drop. And I posted that the good thing about these sharp drops, right, you can see it's at 21%, apparently above 20% is considered bear market. The good thing about this is that oscillators really reset. They reset really fast. If we go to a stock RSI, this is the monthly. Look at the monthly. It coincides with these being the pretty much that tap we have seen with the 50 weekly EMA, the bear market bottom tap. And stock RSI says, yes, it is bear market kind of level, right? It is. So that's confluence, technically speaking, for this leg to be perhaps, hopefully, not a dead cat bounce, but a new leg. I know that we could be thinking that that's too early to consider this a new bull market, but technically speaking, even if we don't care about how long this takes, this all aligns with a new leg. And if we go to the weekly, we can see that the stock market is battling this previous support area. It's, in fact, it is currently, let me place it correctly, is currently above it, and pretty much so far this week, I mean, it's early, it's Monday, has retested it. I mean, this could really be a V-shaped recovery, right? Even here, it looked like a rejection was over, and we have the second or the final leg. I wouldn't discard that this could be a new strong leg for quite some time, for a few weeks, even months, until eventually something breaks, and then we can see a trigger. What if we see this? And around here, June, July, we can see that the tariffs negotiation didn't go that well, that the economy is really slowing down and we need emergency cuts. I don't think that's the case, right? But what if we see that? What if we see another low here? So I believe everything's looking good. We have seen previous occasions, compare them, and nothing is out of the ordinary. Everything looks good. We have these completely daily reset here that marked the bullish divergence and the reversal, right? Since then, since the 8th of April, we have been running pretty much for a whole month, 3 weeks. It's time, of course, for it to reset, but then we could really snap back like we did here. For example, this correction ended in these oversold levels. Stock RSI, even if it's below the EMA, doesn't matter, it's the daily. In fact, even here we had a small bullish divergence that pretty much said that the price was really overreacting. People would argue here that it was a rejection of the 24 like Q2 top, and it was over. But what we really need to be paying attention It's a high, 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 low, high, low, high, low structure. And that's all we need. That is way more important than oscillators. Oscillators, we can just help us identify reversals, right? Or weakness, temporary weakness, like we did here. So far, right, we have these, you could argue is a lower low, sorry, a higher low. This is our higher high, and perhaps here our higher low. We keep playing this structure, right? So everything is good. I don't really care if we get below here or not. Remember that on the weekly we have the breakout. Total 3 still hasn't had it. It's always lagging. Remember that. It's still, in fact, this is the 2021 highs, right? December was exactly rejected there. And obviously, BTC, this is the 2021 high, obviously tested here, and now we're way, way above it, right? So that reinforces the idea of the old season, or at least a real catch-up pending from altcoins, right? So they break and have their own run, that's like BTC has done, which the fact that it hasn't happened yet aligns with BTC dominance is still going strong, but I think it's just a matter of time. And one final thing I want to mention here, this is something I was paying attention to, but I didn't really put much attention as I should have. This, the same way we have W bottom patterns, right? We have M tops patterns, right? Which is something, some kind of distribution the same way. This is reaccumulation. That's something we should pay attention to in the future, because we could argue, sorry, this is kind of similar, right? So again, structural or horizontal first, oscillators later, key structure levels like high time frame, support area, demands. Everything looks good. We just have to wait. We shouldn't be impatient. I said several times, and I'll say it again, we got what we wanted, even if it's a retest. I think we are in a good way. Some people could get a little anxious because, okay, look at how extended the stock RSI is, and we haven't really moved that much in price. We could argue that we are here as well, right, around here, breaking or trying to break this, but look at what we have next. Yes, we could have this kind of reset, or we could just go crazy like it did in 2021, right? And it never stops, only just to print a divergence. So we remember the same way we have seen the daily. Here it was November 9th until January, like 2 months being overheated. And remember, the same thing happened at oversold levels, right? It could stay there longer than people anticipate. Here in the daily, it reached here the overheated levels on the 14th, and people say, what if we have do we need a rollover? I'd say, well, we might have a vertical accumulation. We kept running from April to early May, 3 more weeks, and still price is way higher than it was here, when apparently it needed a correction, but we were still above the EMA, and now we have the correction. That's why the daily is not really that reliable for long-term decisions, right? Of course. So anyway, all looking good, just we need some more patience. People might be defensive or cautious here before FOMC, no more big buys or whatever, and normally stock traders and investors wait for some confirmation or bullish news, which we could see with the FOMC on Wednesday, to keep adding to their bags, right? So I think we are going in the good direction. Full reset here. It doesn't mean it has to revert exactly the next day. Perhaps it takes a bit longer, but I think everything is looking good. So I'll keep you updated when everything relevant, if any relevant aspect changes in the market. I'll see you soon. Take care.